of February. I'm Stephen Ridgway. There is a critical bug in Bind's DNS, which, according to this article, poses a threat to internet stability. Well, it could do, I guess, under certain circumstances. So it isn't a brand new bug, but I think the understanding of how it could be exploited has become more common knowledge. Hence, it's re-hit the news. It's known as KeyTrap and is tracked as CVE 2023 50387. And it's a design flaw in DNSSEC, and it dates back to 2000. So basically, it gives attackers the possibility to trick Bind into a resolver loop, which will then eventually absorb all the resources available on that particular DNS server, and it will crash. So it effectively is a denial of service attack. DNSSEC, well, can you just turn DNSSEC off? Well, you could. If you turn DNSSEC off, it would solve the issue. The challenge with that is that DNSSEC actually offers a lot of good stuff. So one of the other architectural weaknesses in DNS in its vanilla implementation is that it's not secured or authenticated. So it is possible to subvert DNS to provide you the answers that you want your victims to see, rather than the actual answers of domain name queries. So turning off DNSSEC isn't necessarily a good idea. The fix to this, I believe, is as simple as updating Bind. So if you are running a DNS server, and you are using Bind, look for updates. Apparently, it's approximately 34% of DNS servers in the US use DNSSEC for authentication and are therefore vulnerable. There's no evidence of active exploitation, but you can bet your bottom dollar, as they say, that there will be fairly soon if it's hit the mainstream cyber news again. So yeah, these older protocols, whilst being very, very solid, do sometimes have these sorts of vulnerabilities in them. They're not overly complicated, they're not difficult to set up, they're not difficult to work with, but you do occasionally find that they can be subverted in ways that, when they were written, nobody had assumed. Well, in fact, a lot of this stuff was written, nobody was even vaguely interested in. They didn't think of cybersecurity or whatever. Anyway, because the fact you could do all this stuff was just so amazing. So there we go. A little bit of bad news. Lockbit is back and is threatening more government organisations. Maybe aware, we did talk about this a week or so ago, but the NCA in the UK took control of Lockbit's central administration environment, used by the ransomware as a service affiliates to carry out cyber attacks. There was a big global push to bring down the Lockbit gang. So the UK was involved. The USA put a pretty decent amount of effort behind this as well. So the FBI was involved, and various other organisations as well. However, as is the way with these things, the Lockbit group is back. If you've been previously hit, it is possible that the decryption key you need in order to get your data back is one of the 1,000 or so decryption keys that the NCA and FBI and others are. They may well have the decryption key for you. They will be. I believe the NCA is going to be reaching out to UK victims in the next few weeks to provide support. Bear in mind, even if you get the key, be cautious about trusting the data. You don't know what's happened to it. You don't know what state it's in. So yes, if there's mission critical stuff that you've got no other means of recovering from anywhere else, you may have to stick with it in that sense. If you have a means of validating that data once it's been recovered, I would strongly recommend you do that. Don't just trust that what you get decrypted is actually what what you were expecting and is perfectly okay, because they're criminal gangs, right? Clues in the never mind. So yeah, there is a long explanation from a member of the Lockbit gang, basically saying they got lazy, they forgot to patch PHP, the FBI hacked them via a vulnerability in PHP. They've now rebuilt it all with patched PHP. So what's the moral of this story? Stay patched. But yeah, so they are back at the moment, so watch out. They will be targeted, I am absolutely sure, again. However, if there are no obvious means of grabbing hold of this stuff right now, it will be down to law enforcement to find something that they can use to get them. Then finally from me today, and again in the category of I wouldn't have believed it if it wasn't in a mainstream cybersecurity article. A faulty vending machine at a Canadian university has unintentionally exposed the fact that they have been covertly using facial recognition technology. So a snack dispenser at the University of Waterloo in Canada was displaying the message in vendor being a manufacturer of vending machines, I believe. In vendor vending, facial recognition.app.exe on the screen. There was nobody was aware of the fact that the vending machine was undertaking facial recognition. In fact, nobody even knew that it had a camera in it. So it does raise the question, does it really have a camera in it? That is I think that's a very legitimate question. However, it does also show that it is relatively straightforward on a large scale for manufacturers to do things like build in facial recognition to you could argue that there are some useful business stats. How often do you get the same person coming back to this particular machine? How much do they spend? Whatever it might be. Yeah, I mean that one is, if it turns out to be true, is extraordinary, and you just have to be careful, don't you? So yeah, how do you fix this? Well, the University of Waterloo has said it will get rid of in-vendor machines as soon as possible, and has asked that the software to be disabled in the meantime. However, with the ingenuity of students, they've just been using chewing gum to stick over anything that might possibly be a camera. Oh dear. That's quite enough from me for today. Hope you have a good start to the week, and I will speak to you